Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
cool. So, first, a couple of disclaimers. First is that the opinions presented in this session are entirely my own, and they do not necessarily reflect the views of my employer, both previous and current. आजकल ये नहीं बोलने से like companies can come back and sue you, so I don't have too much of money to fight legal battles, so that's why I'm just giving this disclaimer upfront. Second thing is I did not put much effort in kind of making this presentation. I started at around 1 o'clock today in the afternoon after waking up from last night's hangover, and I just kind of put my thoughts there, did some formatting, and so put it across. And now I'm putting it across. So don't judge my design skills from this presentation. Cool. Okay. So what I plan to talk about today first is like navigating the final year of college. This applies for both pre-final and final year students. Then a designer's professional roadmap, as in like what are the different bands and what are the seniority levels a designer is expected to do, or the roles and responsibilities of a designer in an org according to the years of experience. Then we will move on to the corporate space. How does a typical corporate space look like? What are the nuances in the corporate space? How to build working relationships, how to grow in a company. Then, if you want to switch jobs, what are the things that you need to kind of keep in mind? And then some basic gyan, like you will see on the gyan part. So let's get started without uh, any further delay. So yeah, as I was saying, the final and pre-final years are a bit important. I would say final years, basically both for MDes and BDes students. Before that, I would say just enjoy and cherish your college life, because once you move out of college, you won't kind of get it back, and you will start missing it after moving out of college. You should learn as much as you can. IITG has a lot of resources, and I feel bad sometimes because I did not take opportunity, or I did not take advantage of those resources as much as I should have. But nevertheless, this is one piece of advice that I can give you, that try to learn as much as you can from the institute resources, from your professors. Then, if you have any backlogs, try to clear off before the final year, because backlogs tend to kind of become a headache later on in your final year. You will be running around with your BTP or MTP, and then there will be placement tensions. So there are a lot of things that come in a final year. So before that, I would advise to get rid of any distractions or any kind of headaches such as backlogs that you might have. If you do not have, then it's totally well and good. I like salute from my side. But I did have some backlogs, and I cleared them before my third year. Yeah, so I was lucky kind of to kind of clear them before my third year. So and some of my friends, they had to stay back after the fourth year because they could not clear the backlog sometime. Plus, I don't know nowadays if you have NCC or NSO kind of activities in your curriculum. Um, do you guys have Urban NSO,
Yeah, yeah,
NCC?
we do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so those things are a headache. Like you have to go every morning and kind of put your attendance there, mark your attendance, come back. So yeah, get those things cleared as well. Do not neglect your thesis project. So there was a friend of mine from different department. On the very first day of his BTP, he went to his professor. He told that he will do this, he will do that. In short, he said he will make Mangalyaan. He showed the professor moon and stars, and then he never showed his face. That was the first day, and on the last day of BTP, he went in and showed his face. What the professor did was just threw him out of the room, saying, "Try next year." So do not neglect your BTP and MTP. Coordinate with your professor, or make it a habit to kind of connect with your professor weekly, bi-weekly, and if it's a whole year project, so you will get ample amount of time to kind of take it at a very regular or very relaxed pace, I would say. So, but you will have to put in the effort, and that's why I would say don't neglect it. Uh, Try to kind of do it along with your other activities like preparing for your placements or preparing a portfolio for your placements. So those things, if you kind of keep in mind, then I think your last year in college will be a breeze and quite a memorable one. Then moving on to a professional designer's professional roadmap, like after you just get out of college, up till 3 years, you are a junior designers wherein you will be handle small assignments, and I would say it's a good time to kind of learn and explore new tools that are there available in the market. Not each tool we know that exists in the market is something that is going to help us in the long run, but it's a good time to get acquainted with those tools and learn about those tools, and then kind of implement or use them later in your design assignments. And then it's also a good time to kind of observe the workings of the company, how the company is making revenue, or how the company is kind of growing. If it's growing, what are the dynamics? So, I would say 0 to 3 years bracket is that time. Then once you move the 3 years bracket, you come into a mid-senior segment where you will be given ownership of one or two assignments, and you will have to manage stakeholders. And while you are doing that, you will also have to be very clear with your intentions, with your communication skills. You cannot say, yeah, this might work, this might not work. So if you feel something might not work, then try to find a reason why it will not work and try to back it up with data. Data is something very powerful, and it is being respected in every organization. So if you have some data to back up your hypothesis or your opinion, then people will kind of definitely take your viewpoint into consideration. And also at the same time, you will be in a stage where you will be mentoring some of your junior team members or interns. So yeah, those are the things that I would say it falls under the 3 to 6 years bracket. And yeah, post that, post the 3 to 6 years bracket is the place where you end up as senior designers. It's you learn leadership qualities, and then you kind of participate in strategy meetings with your leaders, with your managers. And this is a time to kind of hone your skills, or you, I would say, sharpen your skills, be a more polished designers, and it's a stepping stone to be a design leader. And that is where after 11 plus years you kind of become a director, VP of design, or you might change your field and kind of move to a product management field. So product management field is also very closely aligned with the design field. So the courses that you are studying in design are kind of very similar to what they teach in product management as well. So here your responsibilities would be to kind of lead the design org, or you will have to kind of define the strategy for the or the in terms of design strategy. So pretty much this is the average roadmap. Some people kind of there are outliers, obviously, like some people are quite sharp and they kind of do things that are meant for 3 to 6 years, but they do it in 0 to 3 years. Or maybe they are at a salary bracket which is meant for 6 to 11 years, but they kind of are able to achieve it in 3 to 6 years. So yeah, it depends on person to person, but I would say 80% of the folks fall under this bracket is what I have observed. So yeah, Arvind, yeah, please do let me know if I'm going too fast. Okay, so I have also
No,
taken
no,
the
it's fine.
assumption. Yeah, I
It's
have also
fine.
taken the assumption that some of this, some of you folks are going to be in corporate, some of you are going for higher studies,
Mm.
some of you might decide to do their own thing, do their own startup, and civil services. So this talk is mostly on the for people who might want to pursue a career in corporate later. So yeah, moving ahead. So I guess pretty much most of the folks are familiar with the company jargons like service company or product company. If not, I will just give you just brief recap. As in, like there are IT service companies, there are design agencies. So what they do is basically they take up projects from companies who do not have tech as a core competency. So suppose, for example, tomorrow Louis Vuitton wants to build an app, but Louis Vuitton's primary competency is in the textile industry or fashion industry, I would say. So they have no, or they do not see practicality in kind of having a tech team or having folks who are tech folks and then run another department. So instead, they might come to a company like Accenture, Infosys, or Wipro, and they will let their requirements know that they want a shopping app, e-commerce app with so and so requirements. And companies like Infosys, Wipro, or Accenture, they will kind of build it up. So these are called IT service companies. Likewise, there are design agencies who does only the design work, and there are good design agencies as well. Maybe you have heard some names like Frog Design, and then there is Lollipop Design Studio. So there are a lot of design studios like that. So thing is, in service companies, it's good to work for service companies, and it's bad also. So in service companies, what you get is a different flavor of different kind of projects. So today you are working on a project from a textile domain. Tomorrow you might be working on a project from automobile domain. So the monotony is not there, but the pay is significantly low in some of these companies, and not all of these companies are, I would say, very employee friendly. Like they might be employee friendly in terms of infrastructure and the facilities that they have in their campuses, but uh, some of these companies might even charge you for parking your vehicle in their campus. So I would not name names now, but yeah, there are companies which will charge you for using the gym, using the parking facility, or they will also kind of deduct money from your salary to kind of collect money for their welfare schemes. So yeah, so those kind of things are there. And then if you come to product companies, these are mostly Google, Microsoft of the world, who have their own product and kind of uh, also. So someone is putting in the comments, so please put the name in the comments. So I cannot say speak about those, and this session is being recorded. If I say something about those companies are gonna come after me and throw a legal notice on me. So yeah, maybe you can look at my LinkedIn profile and you can just make out which companies I am speaking about. So yeah, these product companies are good. They pay well, and they have a global team, and also this product companies kind of try to retain you if they feel that you are a good asset to the team. Only drawback in this product companies is that you will be stuck to a product for many years. So the last company that I was working for, so I was sitting on a product for 3 years. So it's not like the product on does not move. It moves, like it has various stages like alpha, beta, generally availability release. Then there are different releases that happens in the product. But sometimes, yeah, it does feel monotonous, and you kind of you want to experiment with something else as well. Coming to company culture, so how can you know what's a good company culture, or how or what's a bad company culture? It's very subjective, I would say. Like there are some companies which hire very fast and also they fire at the same rate. So I would say stay away from those companies, because if they are hiring very fast, they want to grow very fast, and the founders or the a leader's mindset is not something of a stable or sustainable growth. And when the time might not be right, or when there are hard times, they might fire you as well. So I would say be careful about those companies. And if like you are in a very desperate situation, you need a job anyhow, then yeah, I would say give them a try. But unless and until it's not a do or die situation, I would say yeah, try avoiding those companies. Then there are companies which move at a very fast pace, and there are companies which move at a slow pace. Meaning, there are companies which might release a software product, like an MVP of a product in 2 months. So that's a very quick turnaround time if you look at any kind of software development. So that kind of generally happens in startups, and some organizations who are in a startup mode to kind of release something out quickly ahead of the competitor. And in some companies, it's like you send a mail, wait for 2 days to reply, get the approval, and then push the designs to the delivery team. So it depends on the company to company and the team as well that you are in. So either way, it's a good learning experience. When it's fast, you are kind of always on your toes, and it kind of makes you feel the grind. And when it's slow, you can pursue some other activities. You can sleep during the afternoon if you're working from home. So both has its own pros and cons, I would say. And each company goes through the cycle. Like sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow. So yeah, it's totally on the company's business requirements and the time that it is placed in. Then lastly, if you should also look out at companies which are generous with their employee compensation and as well as perks. So compensation, definitely, like you cannot expect someone to work for peanuts. And if companies are not willing to provide you that kind of compensation that you are looking for, I mean, like that compensation also should be reasonable from your side. Sometimes what you end up is getting at par market rate, or sometimes you might get above market rate. But I would say never settle for something that is below the market rate. So it's easy to kind of find out your market rate by going to websites such as Glassdoor, Ambition Box. So if you kind of go and Google that entry level salary of a UX designer, you will find a lot of data points. Plus, there are data points from your college placement records as well, like what or how much package was the average package last year. So if you kind of analyze those data points, then you will get a fair market value of what you should ask. And I would say try to be at that market rate, and do not kind of um, or do not sign up for something which is less than your market rate. If there are no other options and you're not getting anything, then yeah, I know then it becomes a little bit difficult. But if you keep on trying, then definitely something or the other will show up. And there are companies that offer free food, free lunch, free breakfast, free snacks. So, and some companies will have just the vending machine, and you will have to just go and put your money inside it, and you will have to get the snacks. So, yeah, those kind of things you will have to kind of look out for. Yeah, and then the third point is what the attitude of the people working there, especially the senior leadership and managers. So suppose, let's say now after getting placed, you join a company, and then during your stint in that company, the manager shouts at you for something that might be your fault or might not be your fault. Or let me just rephrase it. I would say, like, nobody has the right to shout on you if there's something that is not done as per the expectations of the manager. Then they can kind of call you to a one-on-one meeting, and they can discuss it in private. So publicly lashing out at someone is something that companies do not encourage, and it's also a very bad habit. You can raise this kind of behavior to the HR. And also, I would say, don't stick around in the company. If something like that happens, don't stick around in the company for too long. It's a reflection of the company culture, and if possible, change your manager immediately, or try speaking to the HR, or try finding a new job as soon as possible. So yeah, so you could just judge a company's culture by kind of this kind of thing. And then there's obviously company infrastructure, what kind of things they are providing you, tools that are providing you to kind of do your job easily. And lastly, yeah, do check the Glassdoor ratings of those companies, and I would say check the reviews that are kind of negative, more negative. What like, instead of looking at the good reviews, 5-star reviews, I would say look at the 1-star reviews. Why they are 1-star? So because companies, they can, nowadays everything is, you can buy anything, right? You can buy reviews as well. So there are people who kind of are getting paid to put up good reviews even though they have not worked at a company. So do look out for the bad reviews on Glassdoor, and then you will kind of get to know what kind of a company it is. Yeah, that was quite a long one. Uh, Arvind, what should we do? We should do the Q&A towards the later part of the session, or should we take? Can we take questions as we go along?
I think we'll do Q&A once we are done with the presentation. I feel like that would be better. Or like, yeah.
Sure, sure. Okay. Yeah, yeah. So, moving on to building working relationships. So, I would say the first day in your org, when you are getting placed and when you are joining a new organization, just make an effort to kind of go and talk to everyone on the floor, especially from the design team. Introduce yourself, and like the company, they themselves will do the introductions for you or orientation for you. If they are not doing so, then I would say you just go ahead and just introduce yourself to your future or team members, design team members, and then um try to just set up a repo. This will not happen immediately, but try to kind of get it done within the first month of your joining. And then try to maintain a good relationship with your manager and skip manager. So skip manager is manager ka manager. Okay. So why I'm saying this is because sometimes your manager, you might be very good with your might be having a very good relationship with your manager, and he's trying to promote you. But there might be other managers as well who are trying to push their candidates as well. So now the manager's manager, they he or she will think that whom should I promote? There are so many candidates. So if you are kind of visible, if you're kind of maintaining a good relation with the skip manager and your manager, then automatically they will be biased to kind of bring your name forward for promotion or any other kind of recognition activities. So I would say try to maintain that kind of relationship. Sometimes I also do agree that the managers might be giving you a very hard time, and not every manager is someone who might want to look after their reportees. But yeah, you are, from your side, you should try to put in 100% of your effort, and rest, if it does not fall in place, then you can either look out for next job, or you can change your manager, or those kind of things which you can figure out once you are in the industry. And yes, visibility matters. So once you join an org, you will be hearing this term a lot: visibility. So it's when I say visibility, it means that when they think about some let's say I'm a manager and I have to think about a junior designer. So when I think about a junior designer, the person that comes to my mind immediately will be someone who is in front of my eyes, or whom with I'm work closely for mm, or in the past time. So those kind of visibility really matters, because when it is promotion time, or when it is time to kind of provide appraisal, or appraisal meaning your yearly performance hike, then it becomes quite important to outshine yourself from the other folks who are working there as well. Uh, Thirdly, do not participate in office gossip openly. I know that's very tempting, and it will happen. Um, Try to do it outside the office premises, or maybe during house parties, and do not speak ill of team members to other team members, because you never know who has your best interest at heart or worst interest at heart. So they might just go and make matters worse for you. So just try to kind of stick to your work, maintain a good relationship with everyone, um, engage or participate in activities, team building activities, to kind of be visible with to the senior leadership. So those are things that you can do to make build a good working relationship. And then lastly, these are some of the two things that I kind of um, um, think this are like personal thing, and like it's a very common for like, you can think today I'm from IIT. There will be people whom you meet from other design colleges. So I would say do not discriminate people and discriminate them again based on their educational qualifications and skills. I've seen people like there are people with whom I have worked with. There some like not all of them, but some of them who tend to discriminate. Like I am from NID, I know everything, and so no latitude. So just avoid being an ass and try to be a humble person. Bring a positive attitude to work. Nobody likes a negative attitude person, as in like you should not crib about all the bad things that are happening to you. Try to look on the positive side. And yeah, as I said, try to avoid a no attitude ki mujhe sab pata hai, apunich bhagwan hai. You should not think like that. ठीक है. So yeah, these are some of the gyans of kind of building a good working relationship with your peers and with your colleagues. Next is like how to grow in a company. So as I had mentioned earlier in the earlier slide, like you need to be a bit proactive. Like if you just do your job, come back, and then sleep and again go back to office and do your job. So if you repeat that cycle, it's very unlikely that you will get noticed or you will be kind of considered for promotion. But if you are proactive, if you help your manager in firefighting, as in like when there's an urgent need for some task to be done, you jump in and say that, yeah, I will do it. Give me that, even if that means burning the midnight lamp. um, I would say go ahead, do it. In your initial years, it's something that you can afford to do. Maybe later on, once you get married, once you have children, then it might become a bit difficult with all your commitments to your family. But in your initial years, I would say try to be proactive and go above and beyond of what you are expected to do in your daily job. Then also do communicate your goals and aspirations to your manager. Your manager is also human. He or she might not know what your aims and aspirations are, and not everyone is same, right? So some of you might want to travel the world. Some of you might want to kind of buy a house, settle down. So it's very important to kind of make your intentions, make your aspirations clear to your manager. Accordingly, that manager will kind of plan your roadmap for you, so that he or she sets you up for success. Also, kind of maintain a record of all the recognitions or any good, mm, I would say, acknowledgements from other stakeholders that you get in the year within the company, because and during the appraisal cycle or the time when it comes to kind of allot percentage hike to the employees, this recognitions, they come in handy to differentiate you from the other folk folks. So I would say maintain a record of those things and also kind of clearly write down your achievements, and also try to measure your growth on a year-to-year basis. So how would you measure this growth is something that is very subjective again. So sometimes to measure your growth, you will have to see professionally, are you learning something new in that organization? Have you learned something in the past year? Um, and for me, I would say instead of learning, for me, the monetary part comes into picture. So I check if my appraisal percentage is more than the inflation figure. So suppose, for example, in India, inflation is at 8%. if I get less than 8% in my yearly appraisal hike, then I realize that this place is not going to be good for me for the upcoming years. So I decide to move on then. So that is an example, just simple example that I gave you. So for each one of you, growth might mean different for each one of you, and accordingly you should measure this growth year after year, and what and have you really achieved what you have kind of earmarked yourself for a certain amount of time. Moving on, switching jobs. Yeah, so this might happen to most of you, I would say. Some of the folks that joined with me in Infosys right after college are still there in Infosys. I do not kind of look down on them, but I would say this is their personal choice, and they have transitioned into a managerial role now. So yeah, as I was saying that not everyone might want to switch jobs, but I would recommend it recommend you to do so, because if you switch jobs, first is you step out of your comfort zone. What happens is generally once you kind of join a company, you get comfortable within a year or two, and then you tend to work in a certain way. And if you are not reading, or if you're not kind of keeping up with the outside world, it becomes very easy for the person to isolate themselves in a cocoon. So I would say after 2 to 3 years or 4 years, whatever time you feel is good enough for you, you should look for a different job, provided that you are not growing in that company, and that place has become toxic for you. So yeah, those are things that you should keep in mind while switching jobs. Secondly, what I was also trying to say is job switching is also a very tedious activity. Like, you will have to keep your portfolio, you will have to keep your resume updated, and then the process begins on LinkedIn, where you keep on applying to jobs, you find jobs on Naukri, you keep on applying, you sit for various interviews. Some of those you will get through, and some of those you might not, and there will be rejections. So it is something, it's a process that's very similar to something I would say placements in college. And the thing that you should not forget is that rejections are temporary, and you should not get depressed with those rejections. There are thousands of companies in the world. You will end up in either in one of them. And if you are not getting selected immediately in one or two companies, or in your dream company, that, and always think that something better is there in store for you. So be positive on that front. Also, during an interview, I would say do not overstate what you have done. Maybe you can tell the truth that you have done this activity, this you have not done this activity. So what happens in our design field is that in our design education, we kind of learn all about the processes, right? User research, user interviews, user testing, all those things. But in a real corporate world, hardly these things happen. Like, user research definitely happens in some of the companies, user testing also happens, but not the entire spectrum of the design process happens in most of the companies. So when you are putting that in your portfolio, so do not overstate or do not lie about it. I would say put in the factual things. Maybe you can just fudge the numbers. Like, if you have done a concept testing of your design with an internal user, maybe you can say three instead of one. Maybe you can just bloat the number, but uh, uh, do not lie too much about these things, because the interviewers, they are also quite smart, and they will be able to kind of call your bluff. So yeah, those are things that you should keep in mind while switching jobs. Moving on to my other slide, the part where I will be giving some gyan. So I would say try to learn an extra skill apart from your design education. and also have a side income. Because what pandemic has taught us is that the COVID pandemic has taught us is that never be dependent on one thing and one thing alone. And there are uncertain times. Now I have heard that a lot of good companies that come to colleges, they kind of claw back their offers. Like recently, I heard Atlassian was doing something like that. Like Atlassian is one of the good companies in the market. They have a very good name in the market. So I heard they have roll out the offers to college graduates, and then they have kind of uh, drew the offers. So this kind of things happen. So that's why I always advise that you have a side income. um, Try to learn the basics of finance. Like once you start earning, there will be income tax and you will be paying a lot of it. And if you kind of want to have a look at that perspective, then yearly, maybe 4 months you are working for the government. So let's say the company pays you 10 lakhs, and then 2.5 lakhs goes as a tax. So it's like one fourth of your income goes into tax. So one fourth of the year, or 4 months, 3 months of the year, you are working for the government. So that is something. If you do some tax planning, then you are able to save that money. So learn about the basics of finance, tax planning, and also how to grow your money through investing. Uh, I would say try stock trading as well. Do not try option trading, but learn how to do equity trading. So that is something that I also do. Then also take vacations, and then just do not be bothered about work. काम होता ही रहेगा. Even if you're not there, the company will kind of run. It's not that if you're not going to the company one day, then the whole company will collapse. Learn to take a chill pill. Do your work seriously. Do your work with dedication, but not at the cost of your own health or your own work-life balance. Take some time off. Go to see the world, or I would say enjoy all the good things that are there, or that are there to offer. And I will also lastly, you are young only once, and also you live only once. So I would say try everything and do not overdo it. And also, just a disclaimer, do not use your company resources for outside gigs. So, some of you might also take up freelance gigs, like maybe making a video for someone, a client or someone. So, do not use your company resources for that. The company might come back. They have systems in place to kind of figure out what you're doing. So, they might come and initiate disciplinary actions against you. And then lastly, on this last slide, I would like to say that take care of your health. Health is very important. Try to work out regularly, or indulge in any of the physical activities like running, tennis, swimming, etc. If you are not doing so, what will happen is you will develop a pot belly soon, for boys specifically. Because what happens is once you join a company, you're just glued to the chair almost 8 to 9 hours daily. So after your food, you are sitting. After your breakfast, you're sitting. So it kind of this, I would say, makes it takes an impact on your body. So try to go to the gym either in the evening or in the morning, and try to be physically active, and also try to have a good hygiene. There are folks who come into office and they stink very bad. Nobody wants to kind of go ahead and do a face-to-face meeting with them. Uh, so try to maintain good proper hygiene. And yeah, with this, I would say thank you. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Arvind. It was actually a lot of useful information.
Uh,
Like we
I hope,
usually get up to the going into a company state, but nobody actually tells us like what do you do once you get in.
well, I did not
So,
want to ruin the surprise for you as well. Like you should also discover some things for yourself, right? So
of course.
yeah,
So yeah, now
Yeah.
Alek is here to continue with the questions.
yeah,
We will be
sure.
asking.
Hello. Hello, Abhinab.
Yeah, look,
Good evening. Really pleased to have you here in this session.
thank you.
Uh,
Thank
I have prepared some questions to ask you.
you. Okay.
And let's start with something simple. Like, what made you decide to take up design exactly? Like, were you not interested in other fields?
Good question. So this question I recently answered in a lot of job interviews that I was kind of having well before switching to Browserstack. So what happened is, so I'm from this place called Jorhat in Assam. Okay, it's like east of Guwahati. You might have heard Kaziranga National Park. So if you go towards Kaziranga National Park, cross the Kaziranga National Park, so you will find Jorhat. I was not aware of this design field back then, and like not much internet usage was there back in the time. So I was not aware of the design field, and I mostly thought it to be of industrial product design or something like that. So when I wrote my JEE and then I got a rank, and then finally I saw that there are some seats available within that bandwidth of my rank. So I decided to opt for IIT Guwahati since it was close to my home, and yeah, that is how I ended up studying design. So design happened to me rather than I happening to design.
Oh, okay. So for the next question, we know that you're a lead product designer at BrowserStack. So what does a typical day look like for you over there?
Okay. The terms that you hear, lead or senior designer or advanced user experience designer, these are all fancy terms that the companies they come up with. Okay. So, and mostly you have two types of people. One is a individual contributor, and another one is a manager. And a individual contributor is someone who kind of takes ownership of a product and is the sole designer on that product, who is coordinating with the engineering team as well as the product management team. So coming back to your question, my typical day it looks like, so I have joined this company recently on Browserstack, but what used to happen in Honeywell was I was assigned a product, and whatever the product manager comes up with the requirements that the product should have this capabilities, I have to kind of um chalk out a workflow for that product, as in a task flow. How will the user come and use this capability? And then once the user workflow is approved by the relevant stakeholders, what will happen is I will have to go ahead and create the screens, the UI for the workflow. So once that UI workflow is approved by engineering and the product management, it goes into development. So why engineering buy-in is required? Because you will also have to design something that is feasible, technically feasible. You cannot build something that is not technically feasible today. Although tech has kind of made the feasible, unfeasible thing feasible today, but there are a lot of limitations to the technologies that the developer use or the product that you will be working on that it will use. So yeah, those kind of things are there. That's why engineering buying is required. So yeah, pretty much that's my day. I kind of work on a feature that is brought by the product manager, and then yep.
I think
Did
there's
I
some
answer your
network
question?
issue.
Yeah,
Confuse you.
your audio cut out for like a few minutes there, a
Okay.
few seconds.
Yeah. Pretty much collaboration, I would say. To sum it up in a nutshell, it's collaborating with different stakeholders like product managers, engineering, and then also getting your designs reviewed by your manager. So that is what happens in a day-to-day job of a designer.
That actually leads perfectly into my next question. How do you exactly collaborate with the engineers and product managers over there?
Okay. So what happens is the product manager will come up with the requirements. So they will bring you the user requirements, saying I need so and so feature to be built in the product, and then from there you kind of work backwards, as in ask the what the real user problem is, how is it solved today currently, or is there any other competitor who has already solved it, and how are we going to do it differently? So those kind of questions you ask, and then you get a fair idea of what the requirement is. uh, then finally, once you have the requirement in your mind clear, then you sit down, try to chalk out a task flow of how the user will interact with that capability, and then accordingly you design the UI screens. Once the UI screens are done, you get an approval from the buy-in from the PM, from your manager, from the engineering folks, and then it goes off for development. So that's how at least design work is done in product companies. Some process might differ here and there, a little bit here and there. So apart from that, more or less everything is same. Except
So what kind of projects have you worked on over there, and which one are you like most proud of? Exactly.
projects.
Yeah.
Hmm. Uh, well, I've done a lot of projects, and some. I would not say I am proud of um, those projects, but something, yeah, like something which I started from scratch was the project at my last company. The product which I took it from zero to uh, one, I would say. So, yeah, this product was getting built up from or it did not have anything, and I kind of started with just bare requirements or something which was existing in one person's head. So I would say, yeah, from that point, I brought it to a stage where it's commercially available for users. So yeah, that is one product that I would say I have spent substantial amount of time there.
So the next question actually comes from the chat. Samhita asks, I'm curious to know what your BTP topic was and how you went about working on it. Do you have any tips for choosing a BTP topic? Should it come from a portfolio point of view, digital product design, or more of a passion project?
Hmm. Good question. So, for me, what had happened was, so Sharmishta ma'am, she sent out a mail saying that she has a project which, if anyone of us from a batch would like to pursue, we can take that up. So I really did not have anything in my mind at the time, so I thought maybe I should go and talk to ma'am. So I went ahead and talked to ma'am, and she told me that she was working on a project which was uh, like designing a product for the rehabilitation of people suffering from aphasia. So aphasia is a condition which is caused by brain damage. We wanted to kind of build a product which uh, can be used for rehabilitation of the folks that are affected by it. So she told me about the project, and I thought that, yeah, that might be a good thing to get started with. And I did not have anything in my mind, like something that I would like to pursue as my passion or something like that. So yeah, if you have a project in your mind, and it's something that is something of your liking, then I would say go ahead, talk to the professor who might be helping you out. Maybe let's say, for example, if it's in the domain of animation, then you can talk to Charu ma'am. I don't know if she's still around. Charu ma'am, or someone who is well versed with animation. If it's something related to product design, then you can talk to digital product design, or in fact any design, then you can talk to Sharmishta ma'am, and definitely they will help you out in finding a BTP professor or guide. Uh, yeah, and then once you get the topic, you start your preliminary research, you find out about your users, and then you kind of do the whole design process. So it's a very fun time, I would say. Use the time well, and yeah, choose a project of your liking and try to kind of show it nicely on your portfolio for your placements, so that it communicates the process entirely, and as well as the solution that you have kind of come up with.
So my next question is, do you think the way people perceive design in particular has changed from your initial years?
Hmm. Well, by change, you mean change in what terms?
Change as in the way design has been all like how design works exactly. Like
Well, there are different disciplines of design, right? Like it could be industrial design, it could be animation design. Then there is digital product design. So there are different fields of design, right? But the things that you kind of do, the processes that you follow, or the like, it's like keeping the user at the center, right? So that is the core principle of design. So yeah, I would say base the foundations of it has not changed. Maybe sometimes we do tend to take shortcuts because we do not have we cannot afford that much time to do user research or user testing, and the product needs to go out fast, so we kind of put ourselves on a user's shoes and make some assumptions. So that is what generally happens. But change on from a change point of view, I haven't seen it. Maybe if you guys have seen it, do let me know, but I haven't seen it as such.
there's also another question in the chat.
And
Sebastian asks, yeah, yeah,
can I follow up on
yeah,
that
yeah,
also?
sure, sure.
Yeah, so I think also in terms of change, I wanted to ask, I think during your time, the entrance for design wasn't UC, right?
Yeah. So mm, for undergraduate program in design, only IIT Guwahati was offering from an IIT perspective. Undergraduate programs were there in NID, and then there were other design schools as well. But IIT Guwahati was the only one that was offering the undergraduate program back then, and the admission was through IIT JE only. After 2018 or 2019, I forgot, they introduced USEED, and for that now you have undergraduate programs in IIT Bombay as well as in IIT Guwahati. I don't know about IIT Kanpur. I heard the program is being offered there as well, but not sure. So yeah, those things have changed, but pretty much it totally depends. It does not depend on the mode of entrance, because that's just how you got in. What really depends on what you do in during your college and then after. Um, it's like even if you have a good college tag, it will not matter unless and until you prove yourself in the real world. Because once you get out of college, there will be thousands and thousands of NIDians, IITians, and whatnot. So it will totally boil down to your capabilities, what you bring to the table as a professional, and how you are able to kind of solve problems more effectively for the company so that they want to keep paying you for the work that you do. So I would say, yeah, things to note on that front.
So because the design education preliminary to coming into college has changed,
Mm.
because for us now we were fully preparing for design, not mains, right? So has that affected anything at all? Like if you meet college pass outs right now, designers, do you notice any sort of difference or a generational gap or a bridge or anything like that?
Not really. So when designers hire for their team, they do not ask questions from physics, chemistry, or maths, right? They will ask you questions from the design field, how you feel about the user, how you empathize with the user. So that is something that you kind of learn in the design education. So yeah, I would not say that that is something that is getting affected. And if I think it's a personal bias of people, if you say so, like if they are observing any difference. Uh, if there are some jobs or there are some profiles wherein you need some kind of a little bit of technical knowledge, but not something which cannot be learned on the job. So I would say from that perspective, everything remains the same unless and until your fundamentals are all good from a design perspective.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's it. If the audience has any more questions, we are up for it. Otherwise, I will wrap up soon. Uh, Okay, so I guess we have okay, so we have two more questions. We'll do that and we'll okay. One Divi asks, what's your suggestion for students who are doing engineering from tier 3 colleges but want to work in design?
Okay. Um, so there are a lot of folks who have transitioned into design, and they are doing quite well as well. So to succeed as a designer in the industry, um definitely you would not need to have necessarily you do not need to have a design degree, but a design degree kind of helps uh, also. But if you want to transition to a design industry, then I would say uh, you should do a master's in design. That way, it kind of helps to find a job relatively easier because of the placements from the college. Otherwise, if you transition from your normal profile to a design profile within the same company, then you will need to have a very good connect with your design peers. Then they will kind of offer you a first break wherein you can try your hands out on the problems that the designers solve in the industry. And if you're someone who is working already, then I would say you can take up small, you can start by building your portfolio, and then you can reach out to people to provide or to kind of give you that first break or first entry level design job. And then from there, you will be able to kind of move up the ladder. So it's totally up to person. And there are a lot of people who have done this, and they have done it quite well as well. So if I hope that answers.
Yeah, I hope it does. And okay, next question. Okay, we have okay, two more questions. So guys, we have two more questions. We'll ask that and we'll wrap up. So the one more question is, does your domain of design projects lock your industry domain as well? How difficult it becomes to change the industry once you enter? Uh,
Hmm. Okay. So domain does not necessarily kind of bound you to a specific domain. Like for example, I started out in Infosys where I was working on various domains. Then when I moved to Honeywell, it was an industrial automation domain. So I did not really feel that much of a struggle or friction. And there will be people who will help you in their organization to transition to a domain successfully. So now I have moved into a company which is into the testing domain. So here what they have done is they have collated all the study materials that you could find on the internet in one place and have asked me to go through it. And I will only be allowed access to other applications of the company when I passed a certain test. So that way, domain is not a barrier, I would say. um, your fundamentals as a designer should be strong, as in like when you're working you should work around the user at the center. And domain is something that is very flexible and you can move around domains. But yeah, it does take some time to move out from one domain to another, and that you will be able to do it. It's not some of a much of a rocket science, I would say.
okay, so we'll take our last question. Okay, yeah. Sebastian says, I am studying at NID Ahmedabad product design, but I primarily want to do UX, and we just have one module for UX. So should I choose a product design job immediately or wait? What do you suggest?
Okay, so product design, as in it's like physical product design, I'm assuming. Uh, so if you want to transition into UX, you can still do so. Like when there will be companies that will be coming to your college for placements, then you can just appear in them. And as when companies go to campuses to recruit freshers, they also know that you are freshers and they will not have too much of expectations. They will see if your like if your understanding of the subject is there or not, and how you are as a person. So I would say you can go for it. There are a lot of folks who have transitioned from a different design discipline to UX design, and more or less the things remain the same. And it's just that you are moving from a physical product space to a digital product space. So more or less it will remain the same. and you should be able to kind of thrive in it as well.
Of course. So, thank you, sir. That was
No sir, no madam in corporate. You call people first time.
thank you.
No
Right.
bhaiya, no didi as well.
Now, obviously, no.
Okay,
Right. So, yeah, we'll conclude now.
sure.
And thank you guys for attending. And don't forget, we have our third session tomorrow at 12 p.m. again. So, meet you there. Until then, goodbye.
Okay, thank you folks. Bye
Thank
bye.
you, Abhinav.